go live. Okay, we are live. We are late. But that is going to be the next probably at least 2 weeks. She's still go through all the bills. Now Sonia Gillick is gone home. She didn't go well. She just came in for the.
Yeah, okay.
So as soon as she gets home, I have a feeling she'll be joining us on Zoom. She was on that. Well, so today we are starting with S211, then we're going to S326. These are motor vehicles, and Sandra Westman is here to explain why we aren't going through at least.
Well, I've got two things. Thank you for having me in. There is,
Who are you?
I am,
Why?
I'm getting there, but thank you for having me in. I'm, Rich Westman. I'm, the chair of the Transportation Committee, Senator from Ohio. And, let me start with 211, which is, and give a blanket statement about what we did. What you basically have in front of you is a bill that asks the agency to come back with a plan on why, if we went to 2-year inspections, what that would look like, and answer some of the questions that are in front of us. I would remind the Finance Committee, we are on a track to go to vehicle miles traveled for electric vehicles as of January 1st of this next year. We are presently working on language that will be in the T-bill that has been presented to us by the Agency of Transportation around vehicle miles traveled. The whole effort this far has been that the way we would do vehicle miles traveled is the odometer would be read at the point of inspection. And the bills that we received and all of the pieces that we've got had no way, didn't take any of that into account. So if we were going to go ahead and you're going to try to move to vehicle miles traveled, we would have to find another way to do that. Therein, we asked in 211 for them to come back with a proposal. We also have EPA requirements that we as a state have agreed to. And the EPA requirements that we have agreed to, there apparently are ways that states have got around this. There are 15 states that have every other year inspections, but most of those aren't northeastern states. And because of where we sit in the country, our regulations are stricter because of our air quality pieces. So we asked them, if we were going to move to every other year inspections, how would we do it and not fall out of requirements for EPA? So we felt that there wasn't an opportunity for us at this time. We couldn't answer those questions. So what we did is basically ask transportation to come back with us with a recommendation about what you would do to do that. That's the high level of what 211 and
We have it because there is a fee mentioned in here somewhere.
fee and I think the fee was mentioned in the underlying bill and you have what you have in front of you and both Joint Fiscal and Ledge Council with Damien and Logan can explain this far better than I can in detail. But I wanted to alert you, what we did is we voted a bill out. There was 2 sections in that dealt with trucks and trailer coaches and purchase and use tax. We got information that, when joint fiscal did their analysis, found at a minimum of 1,200 vehicles that it would have changed their rate, and the estimates were from joint fiscal that there would have been at least a $1.2 million hole put in the bill after we voted it out. We immediately, and also trailer coaches, we weren't made aware of how many trailer coaches could be sold, and they couldn't report that to joint fiscal, which would have an effect. And some vehicles, it was around 1,000 a vehicle. So we decided at that point, because the numbers weren't,
I know, I'm sorry, I forgot I was supposed to be in appropriations. Are you
I was
coming
just-
to get me?
I'm actually, I'm going to
3:30 instead.
3:30 instead, okay,
You can?
I could do 3:30.
I appreciate
If
it.
3:30?
someone sees,
I'm sorry,
I
Senator.
need Senator Brock or Senator Beck.
No.
Can you text them? Do you have their numbers? Okay.
I will be heading.
There you go.
over to my seat.
And they're telling me they weren't going to be here, so.
So what we did is we have a strike all amendment. That strike all amendment is really what we as a committee are recommending. It takes both sections that dealt with the purchase and use tax out, and we were dealing with the underlying, what was brought from us from DMV, were the recommendations. We felt without good information, we couldn't go ahead and change the statute, so we took it out. And that's not to say that sometime later in the session or when the miscellaneous DMV bill gets to the House, they might have better information than they dealt with, but we weren't confident we could. And so at that point, that is to explain to you why the amendment from us is really the bill we're listening.
Thank you.
Is that,
I'm feeling Phil for the amendment. I'm not sure what we do if we approve the bill or the amendment because
I'm not sure either, but we felt
I think you took out our area of jurisdiction.
There are some.
there are
There are
some fees.
fees, okay.
There's in section 15, there's a towing fee. In section 17, there's a snowmobile fee. In section 19, there's a $40 yearly fee for commercial driver's licenses. And then in section 26, there's the 26th annual registration fee. So there are some very small fees, but the largest area that was in this before was purchasing use. And that's totally out from what we'll recommend.
Thank you, Justin.
Unless there's questions, I'll go back to appropriations and we'll wait for the senator from Madison to show up.
The senator from Caledonia has shown up, so if the senator from Addison needs to go to
I think
appropriation.
they said 3:30 because I forgot to go when I was supposed to go, so they must have moved my bill to 3:30.
Okay.
Because I was supposed to go at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah,
But
that
it's
should-
good. I know, and I completely forgot, but it's good because we wouldn't have had a quorum if I
Yes.
left.
Good. All right. So if we move ourselves along.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ricky.
Okay, so Damien.
Good afternoon.
Is this 211?
I can start with 211.
Well, which bill are we?
That's what's on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 211 is first and then 326.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so let me go ahead and share my screen.
It's 326, the bill isn't posted, I don't see it, but anyway.
Okay. So 211 here. So as, for the record, I'm Damon Leonard from the Office of Legislative Counsel. As Senator Westman stated, originally this bill would have shifted us to a 2-year inspection schedule and would have had some revenue impacts because it changed the fee, and then you would have had fluctuating inspections because most people wouldn't have needed to get an inspection for 2 years, et cetera. What this instead does is it requires the Secretaries of Transportation and Natural Resources to develop a plan to transition inspections to a 2-year schedule beginning in 2028. And importantly for this committee are items 4, 5, and 6. As part of that plan, they have to propose a fee structure and address the potential for different fees charged in relation to the inspection of different vehicle types. So for example, school buses have to get inspected 3 times a year, and there's no proposal to change that. Commercial motor vehicles, like buses, have to be inspected twice a year. So if you're carrying passengers, no one's proposing to change that. This is like passenger cars are proposed for the 2-year inspection. So because of that, you could see some changing fees proposed. The next is identifying the anticipated impacts on the revenue and how to mitigate that. And then the third is including proposal for amendments to the mileage-based user fee, which the House is working on in the T-bill, that would address this issue, because right now the reporting of annual vehicle miles traveled is tied to getting your odometer read at your inspection. So if you move to 2-year inspections, obviously that could affect the ability to do that.
And that would be a much larger bill to pay in 2 years than in 1. It would be.
Right, although the current mileage-based user fee proposal has options for quarterly and monthly payments, and there's discussion of a potential for a pay-as-you-go. Although it's not clear how you would be reporting your odometers. Other states have something set up where you can take monthly odometer readings and share them with the state, but
My car seems to know everything, including when the driver needs to have a cup of coffee. They can't read the odometers remotely at this point.
well, so other states that are working on mileage-based user fees, some of them have apps that you can opt into. It is a privacy issue.
Yeah.
But there are states that there's a variety of approaches. One of them is app-based, where it tracks where your car goes. One of them actually allows for geofencing, so that, and this is one of your options in Oregon, so that your car knows when you're in Oregon and you pay for the miles you travel in Oregon. And it knows when you left Oregon and you don't pay for any miles that accrue while you're outside of Oregon. And then there are various privacy provisions in there, so it's not tracking where you drive your car, et cetera. Because
Distracting.
right, so there are
Like, this is that sound like sports betting, where they know exactly where you are located.
right. So there's the Vermont proposal, I would say, is the simplest of the mileage-based user fee proposals at this point, because it's just tied to inspections. But if you went to a 2-year inspection, obviously that would complicate things. There's potential to prorate the fee or something like that, but it would complicate things.
Especially when I was working, I put on a lot of mileage, but that is also a deduction, if you're paying, so you wouldn't want to do that annually, probably.
Right.
Yeah,
And there are states too that allow folks to pay they can choose either to pay a statutory rate or a per mile rate. That's not currently in the proposal here in Vermont, but that's another thing that's been discussed and testified on. So for folks who don't want to have to report every year or 2 years, they can say, I'm just going to pay the flat fee, which is tied to some mileage where they set the cap, basically. So if you're traveling a lot, you can just choose to pay the cap, or if you have privacy concerns. in those states, you can just choose to pay the cap. So, but that's 211. Logan, do you have something on that one?
No money on that one?
No money.
Revenue?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just
So
a report
somewhere in
back
this,
with a
the word
plan,
fee is in this bill, therefore it's ours.
word fee and revenue. So,
Okay,
Potential for different fees charged.
yes.
Yeah. but no current fee proposals in here.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions at this point about the bill with no fees and no revenue? Send it back.
Haven't we done this study like several times before, or something similar to it?
I know that inspections and getting rid of inspections or reducing them has been discussed for a long time. I don't know the extent to which we've ever done a study. This one is somewhat unique in that it's asking for an implementation plan.
Okay.
I think this is saying if we decide we wanted to do things by end, how we can do it without creating havoc and transportation fund and
Yeah.
fees. So
Somebody Dire Street.
To your question, Senator, I would just say that even if it has been done before, the technology in the cars today.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I mean, they're just a lot safer, and so maybe we just don't need these safety inspections.
that's about my pay grade, as they say.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, you can stay.
Great.
Logan says there's nothing to report from his end.
All right, let me pull up the
And this is the one we're supposed to pay. We're gonna go
Yes.
through the strike law, not the bill is introduced.
yeah, so this is the substitute amendment. So my understanding is that the Transportation Committee intends to move to substitute this for the committee report. And so I'll walk you through the sections that have fees or elimination of the fee in them. So the first several sections here relate to identification cards. So what they're proposing to do is for individuals who have been sentenced to serve a period of 6 months or more in prison, or individuals who've been detained for more than 6 months in a correctional facility, they're proposing to provide a pathway for them to get a no-cost credential. Currently, we provide a no-cost non-driver ID for an individual who has been sentenced to serve a sentence of 6 months or more. And this would extend that, and language was developed in concert with House Corrections Institutions, who is sending a bill to the Senate that has identical language in it, and then was also reviewed by your Senate Institutions Committee. So skipping over the technical corrections in this section, we'd skip down a couple of pages to the existing language here, which provides an individual who is sentenced to serve a period of imprisonment for 6 months or more and who is eligible shall, upon proper application and submission of documentation required. And lest this trip anyone up, the non-real ID or real ID identification cards, they are both real IDs, but there is a federal real all caps ID program. And so if you don't have documentation establishing either your citizenship status or your legal presence in the country, you get a non-real ID. If you can establish your citizenship or choose to establish your citizenship or your legal status in the country, then you get a real ID. So we're not proposing to change anything about that program, but for the sake of clarity and ensuring we remain in conformance with the federal requirements, we're specifying you have to provide that documentation.
Okay, and this is an ID, not a driver's license, which also is a real ID.
Right, so this is the non-driver ID piece, which is existing law. The only update in here is updating some of the language. But I'm just showing you this so you can have context for the next three changes. So the first change would be this new section here for individuals who've been detained for 6 months or more. The only difference between this and the individual who has served a sentence is when you have someone who served a sentence, you know when their release date is. So they provide them with the actual ID on release. Here they provide them with, they essentially help them assemble the paperwork and set things up so that they can go to a DMV location upon release and receive the no cost driver ID. But because you don't know, they may go to this, maybe an individual who's awaiting trial, they go to trial, they're acquitted, they're released right then.
Okay, that's what I was, detained is not incarcerated.
Exactly. So you could be detained for a long period of time while you're awaiting trial and then be released once you're acquitted, or be sentenced to time served and released right away. So you don't have a date, but this would also entitle them to a fee of $0. Then with the next section is replacement licenses. And it basically does the same thing in two sections. The first is the individuals who have been sentenced would be entitled to a replacement operator's license for a fee of $0. And then because there's a delay in how quickly they can implement it, we have a separate section for individuals who have been detained for 6 months or more in section 3. Same thing though. DOC and DMV work together to obtain the documents and process things so that the individuals are able to obtain the credential when they exit. And the idea is that you basically can get the highest credential you've had beforehand, assuming you meet the requirements in the statute and it hasn't expired for too long or something like that. And then the final piece here is the learner's permit. And so again, replacement learner's permit for a fee of $0. And that's
for incarcerated.
This is for a period of imprisonment. And then we then add H here in the next section, which is for the detainees. So that's the first 5 sections of the bill. It's basically eliminating a fee. Logan can talk to you about what we expect the fiscal impact to be.
Okay, there was a fee, then we're getting this.
Right, so for everybody except for the individuals who were currently entitled to a $0 cost non-driver ID, they had to go out and pay the cost of their new driver's license or new learner's permit, which would have been, it depends on the one. This does not take away the fees for an enhanced driver's license, which is the one that you can use to cross the international border. It's just the regular driver's license, either the state version or the federal Real ID compliant version, which you can use to board a plane.
ID doesn't get you over.
Real ID will not cross borders. You need the enhanced driver's license for that or a passport. Yeah. So yeah, there's
I don't.
like so many things. There are layers of complexity
Well,
and a lot of.
in Iowa, that they couldn't go over with their driver's license, but you could in Vermont. But I looked it up and Vermont was one of something like 2 or 3 states. At that point, we were one of them that were doing the Real ID, and maybe it's the enhanced Real ID that we
I think
were.
it was the enhanced.
Yeah, okay.
As I understand the program, Real ID is intended to have identification that complies with federal requirements for various purposes where there's a federal ID requirement, like
Getting
boarding
on
a
an
plane.
airplane.
Yes, and an enhanced driver's license goes another step beyond that, similar to getting a passport.
Okay.
That's about the limit of my knowledge about all the differences
I've got both.
between the
so
two, but, yeah. The,
Didn't used to be important. You used to just drive over the border into Canada.
once upon a time,
And it wasn't that long ago, yeah.
so let me skip, ahead to the next section here, section 7. This will affect revenues of the state. It is cleanup language, so currently the statute allows if you have a check that bounces when you go to get a replacement, a license or registration or a replacement of those, and your check bounces and you don't make good within about 30 days, the department can suspend your license or registration.
I
But-
have a question.
Yep.
When my daughter died, I inherited her car. Shortly before she died, she wrote a check to keep the car registered.
Mhm.
But then when she died, the bank froze the account. The check bounced and they charged me $20 for a bounced check because I was now the owner. But apparently there was like a 3-week lapse in there. This was during COVID. And DMV didn't cash the check with alacrity because when the check was written, there was still money in the account. The account was frozen upon death. I refused to pay the fee, but I paid the registration. But is there any requirement that DMV act precipitously, or can they sit on a payment for a month? In this day of phones and things, I just, people don't balance checkbooks anymore or look at checks. So it's possible to say, oh, that's paid, and I write another $200 check 3
So,
weeks later and it bounces.
so that, is similar to a discussion that was had across the hall. So the statute does not contain a requirement that DMV promptly deposit the checks or so forth. But one of the concerns that came up with the electronic funds transfer and credit and debit charge language here is often that will show up in your account as pending. But by the time they process it, other transactions may have occurred. Or there may be a check that's pending, but it hasn't been deposited yet. So, and the DMV is here if you'd like them to chime in, but to paraphrase their testimony, under their current practices, and obviously this is different than COVID, when there were other complications going on, but they're giving people about 30 days to make the payment.
Okay,
If things bounce, they first try to settle up without assessing things. I don't know if they're gonna still be charging the bounce check fee. In that case, that would be a better question for them, that this whole piece here about suspending the license wouldn't occur until they've basically reached a point where they say the individual is not gonna pay.
okay, yeah, because
We've reached out.
my checkbook, but
Yeah,
I have at least one child who just says, I look at my balance. They keep saying, yeah, but how many other checks have you written? Or debits have you made? So, yeah, all right. And some gas stations apparently put a hold on if you use a debit or credit. So,
yeah, EV chargers,
Yeah.
rental companies, lots of them come up with
lots of
that.
make sure that, yeah, the money is there. So that can
Yeah.
tie things up. So as long as we're making we're dealing with the problem. There will always be something that falls through the holes.
Right, it's not a perfect system, but there is flexibility in the way they are handling this here to allow folks to deal with that check that didn't clear in time. So penalties, I'm gonna skip over, right? Okay, so we'll skip over.
You're gonna skip over the smuggler not penalty? That's the best.
So this,
That's, you better do that.
so this increases the penalty for, entering Smuggler's Notch with a prohibited vehicle from 1,000 to 10,000, and if you get stuck, it goes up to 20,000.
Well, where the electric billboards haven't deterred them, maybe this will.
So my understanding is we have one recently. So we're down from the prior several a year, but there's still,
Billions and stuff off the,
they're chicanes and other things, but yeah,
Still a suggestion for some.
yeah.
you have to be really determined to go through there.
Ridiculous. Can I ask a question? Will the 10 and 20,000 cover the cost of getting the truck out? I mean, the trucker has to pay for it, but if there's,
My
Cost
understanding is
state.
that the removal costs can be quite high. I couldn't give you an actual number, but for a stuck vehicle, my understanding is it could be quite expensive.
okay, but the owner of the vehicle pays for it
Yeah.
and not the state. Okay.
Yeah,
So this is an additional penalty. The way the penalty applies is if it's a commercial vehicle, it's the owner of the vehicle, so the employer that owns it. If it's a vehicle for personal purposes, the operator is on the hook. So if you drive your camper into the notch and get stuck, you're on the hook for
last,
$20,000.
last year, there was a farm trailer. I think cattle trailer that got stuck in there, one of the first.
I still think the best answer is if you well placed sticks of dynamite.
It would be in animal cruelty if that trailer was gone. No, I mean,
Road out.
Oh,
Get rid of the rocks that.
then it would. That is not enough much.
Oh, not just for the trucks, but to smooth out the road, is what I'm talking about, yeah. So you get rid of the rocks. and you
It's
can-
our culture, that's like.
Thomas
chicken.
Chittenden.
Doesn't get off me.
I mean, that's, you gotta see why smugglers came through there. Okay,
All right,
that should be a deterrent, and is one of the reasons I heard, and again, was the Maps or one of the apps listed that as the fastest way to get.
so
And every,
there are trucker or truck appropriate GPS apps out there
yes,
that will steer you around it, but if you're using regular Google Maps and it doesn't know that you're driving 40-foot box truck or or pulling an 18, driving an 18-wheeler, then it would continue to steer you through there. So it depends on what the app is. So you could see an instance where someone with an RV is using Google Maps and it goes up that way, but you know, at this point, there are signs, there's a chicane. And so,
Scientists, no. I mean, it's a sign, it only has so much, but I wouldn't think of an RV as a truck, I bet,
Yeah.
yeah.
but
And
So I
why
can
would
see-
you chance it, you know?
If you're from, I used to sell houses to people from Baltimore who wanted to live in the country. And I would say, define country. How many miles do you want to drive to the grocery store? It's a very different concept when you come from.
Yes, well, if you're seeing like flashing lights and they're saying, don't go, would you chance it with your beautiful, expensive RV?
Well, if I've gone all that way up to Stowe, I might. People sometimes. That says I can go here.
Is saving time too, like that's a factor in the truck drivers, so if they see that it'll save them an hour, they want to get home with the kids, so.
But I-
Why go along with it?
Now, I looked at Google Maps and it was like 15 minutes difference in the estimated time. It wasn't, I'm saying, really? I was surprised at how little time they estimated. It wasn't like a half hour, an hour. Of course, that probably doesn't account for traffic, but
Well, we could require a driver's license to IQ test, what's the picture?
and you read roads. Okay, we're having too much fun and let's get through this.
Right. So, this section here is actually a fee that the state pays. It's not a fee that the public pays. So this relates to towing vehicles from public property.
Yeah.
We did increase the amount a few years back.
Looking at.
There was testimony that it's still not enough. And this is adding additional language. So, the first increases the fee from 125 to 250. The second, allows the agency of transportation, if it's already reimbursed a towing service or paid a towing service for the fee, to seek the reimbursement, from the fund that we have set aside to pay these.
Oh,
So it's basically allowing them to recoup some of their costs that they're paying at the time. And so we received testimony that the state's increasingly been paying for the tow and removal of vehicles that are abandoned on state properties, and has not been able to recoup some of those costs. And so the idea is to try to recoup some of the costs from this fund that we have available to pay them.
But it is.
All right, the diesel fuel tax language here, don't worry, it's just technical corrections, not changing the tax.
We're gonna get rid of it?
Unfortunately, this does not propose to do that.
See the price
So-
of diesel?
I have.
Me too.
Let's see, with the snowmobiles here, this is just a penalty. It's not a new fee. It's increasing the penalty for folks who aren't getting the right decal registration for running their snowmobiles in the state. The next one is a fee. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Here's the fee. So the fee here would provide for a non-domiciled commercial driver's license. So this is a person who's not a permanent resident of Vermont who seeks a Vermont commercial driver's license. This is a 1-year commercial driver's license, and it's setting the fee at $40. 2-year fee is currently $72. So that gives you a sense it's a little bit more for the 1-year fee. And this is setting up a fee for those non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses. And for those of you who have been tracking the national news around some of the potential federal regulations, those have not gone into effect. They're being held up right now, so they're not in this bill. So this is just addressing the fee piece.
so if the feds change.
If the feds
Be back.
change, we'll be back next year. But it likely won't be a fee. It'll probably be other parts of the program that we'll be addressing with the non-domiciled. The motorboat validation stickers, we're not actually changing the fees. They're in here just for technical corrections. What this is bringing us into compliance with a federal requirement that the stickers be within 6 inches of the registration number. So we're coming into compliance with that. Let's see, I think that's it for the fees in here. I'll scroll through there is one other fee. So limited use specialty vehicles. These are 2 types of vehicles. One is a home manufactured vehicle that is not for resale. So this could be a kit car. Could also be someone who rebuilds a car from existing parts or from newly manufactured parts or a combination of them. And the other is for ultra small manufacturers who manufacture fewer than 325 vehicles per year for sale in the US. These are commonly known as resto mods. An example of this is in Milton, we have a manufacturer who produces what looks like a second generation Corvette on the outside. On the inside, it is fully modern with carbon fiber, etc. Super engine. These are subject to federal emissions requirements for the engine and so forth. But we didn't have a process for them to get registered. So this is proposing to register these two types of vehicles under this umbrella, the same way we register antiques and exhibition vehicles. Wow. And it charges the same fee, which is a $26 per year registration fee for a total of 12 new vehicles per year. So it is a very small subcategory of vehicles that just haven't been captured.
I thought we did this a couple of years ago. This seems like deja vu.
We looked at proposals on this in the last few years.
Okay, was it just a report that we did on this?
We did.
Okay,
We did have a report on this last year.
remember that
And so that came
I don't
back
know what
with
it
some
said, but
proposals.
okay.
And this is what came out of that report.
Awesome.
So the small manufacturer, those are not made to ride on the road.
It is a street legal car, but it's permitted for one day a week, not for regular transportation of passengers or property. So it's the kind of thing like you can take your old Model T out on the road to get a creamy on Sunday,
Yeah,
Right, show or something.
drive it to the show,
yeah.
but you can't use it as your daily driver.
Parade vehicle.
Right, and so these, you can drive them on the road once a week to take them to a car show, to cruise down to the creamy stand in the summer. You can see where my mind's at after the one day.
It's going to be 33 is a high.
It's killing me. But it's not supposed to be a daily driver. So these cars do have to pass safety inspections, and they have to be built with emissions compliant engines. They don't have to pass regular annual emissions inspections though.
The Model Ts, do they?
No, those old cars are not subject to modern emissions requirements. So we've kind of modeled this,
This new
On a lot of
one, the
that.
New ones.
yeah.
Okay.
Wait,
And
can I ask a question? Before this, you skipped over this, probably because it doesn't have a fee, but what are these things?
the
High vehicles or?
K vehicles. So K is short for Keiji Dosha, which
Okay.
is Japanese for light duty vehicle. They're the little mini trucks, or you've seen the miniature vans too.
Yeah,
They even have miniature mid-engine sports cars, little two-seaters. So there's been confusion about whether these are legal in Vermont or not.
Really, you can buy it for campuses, right?
Right, you can buy that or for farm use, that sort of thing. They're popular. You have to import vehicles that are at least 25 years or older under federal law, but they're very popular or becoming increasingly popular because you can get a small dump truck for under $15,000, which for a farm can make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then also individuals, they're fuel efficient. They meet the same basic safety standards, although they weren't certified in the US, as other small cars from 25 to 30 years ago. So you have seat belts and airbags and so forth. So folks are increasingly buying them on the secondary market and then wanting to use them. So this is clarifying they can be used as either a pleasure car or a farm truck in Vermont and registered as such, and they're subject to those requirements.
so these are not made anymore, or are they?
They are still made, but you can't import the newer ones because unless they are certified to the federal motor vehicle safety standards.
Oh,
And so it's rare that they're mostly sold for overseas markets.
got it.
I was out of the country over the break last week and I saw a number of them on the roads where I was.
Wow.
So they, for countries that have smaller roads, they become a very like practical vehicle if you're a contractor or a construction.
Yeah,
company,
yeah.
Something like that.
I'm surprised you can't find new ones. I swear I saw like 5 brand new ones on Middlebury campus just maybe a week or 2 ago.
So they may be, ones that meet the safety standards, or they may be used for off-highway use.
So, right, campus use, not road. level.
Right, so they could be used by the grounds and maintenance folks.
So you find new ones that can just stay on your property.
Exactly,
Okay, that makes sense.
but you're not using them on the highway. Yeah. So that is that. I am overdue to get upstairs. Are there any other questions?
Okay, we just have the fees, any questions, fees, as far as we know, covered the cost.
That's a question for Logan.
Logan, well,
So-
Logan up next, and, go wherever you're scheduled.
And if you do need any amendments, you can just email me and I'll draft something up.
Okay.
Great, thank you for your time.
Not anticipating anything. And this is all the strike, so this is not the original.
Yeah, so for the record, Logan Mover, fiscal office. On your webpage, there are both documents, just because the bill as it officially exists. I did a fiscal note for that bill, it's on there. But I'm gonna walk through the fiscal estimate for the proposed amendment from Senate Transportation. They are very similar, except for, as the Chair Westman mentioned earlier, the fiscal note itself has that purchase and use section that has been taken out in their proposed amendment. So there'll be a slight difference, but other than that section, they're pretty much the same. So I'll go through this quickly. You can see there at the very top, there is some increase in expenses that would be incurred by the DMV of about $32,000 per year. That, as we'll get into, is from that increased towing fee that could be charged. And then there's some other smaller de minimis impacts on state revenue, which I will go through here. So section 1 through 5 is the first section. This is related to the free identifications for those certain individuals that are either detained or sentenced. So currently, we offer the free non-driver IDs for individuals who are sentenced to serve a period of imprisonment for 6 months or more. This section, as Damon mentioned, would expand those to be not only non-driver IDs, but also the replacement operator's license and replacement learner's permits. These sections would also expand that exemption to include individuals who are detained for 6 months or more. So in the second paragraph there is sort of where we get into the numbers. So in 2025, there were 465 free non-driver IDs that were provided to sentenced individuals. And then between 2022 and 2025, there were an average of about 46 individuals who were detained for a period of 6 months or more and would qualify for this new free license. Currently, non-driver IDs have an application fee of $29, and then replacement operator license and replacement learner permits are $24. And then the last paragraph in that first section, the potential loss would, or impact would be from a loss of revenue. These individuals would no longer be paying the fee. But again, there's about 50 additional people who might be getting a free license due to this change. Most of the people who qualify this are already getting a non-driver ID for free. So the estimated impact that these sections would have is really minor to minimus.
If my driver's license didn't expire while I was being detained, I would need a free driver's license, right?
Theoretically, yeah.
Okay, so this would be if I couldn't go down and renew it because I was locked up. The state will make up for that.
Right.
Okay. Just introduce short.
Andrew Collier, Commissioner of the Department of Motor Vehicles. Just to add a little more color to everything I just mentioned. The cost for us to produce a non-driver ID and a operator's license, if they're coming at a higher rate, is the same. Approximately $3.30 per the application card. So our P for production is the same, for those two items. And then, that's why the enhance is a higher fee, or we would not subsidizing, because that's a higher cost.
What are we being bribed?
Yes.
Terry Corsones gave me
Oh.
a whole thing of these, and
Oh.
if I take them home, I'm dead.
Pass it
Any of it?
back on.
Are they rum cookies?
World famous.
So doesn't the governor's wife, she used to make goodies when he's lieutenant governor.
And you're also.
Okay.
She makes good goodies. Okay. So,
Continuing on,
yeah,
section 8 is the smuggler's not penalty. I noted it here, but at the end, this is what Damon spoke to you about. We don't generally, and it's hard to estimate revenue generated from.
we hope we
civil
don't make any
Exactly.
money.
Yeah, hopefully this is a deterrent and it's zero, but I did want to note it here. Section 15, that's the fee for towing. So as Damien mentioned, this would increase the amount of towing service can charge for towing a abandoned motor vehicle from property. It's doubling that. So there's a small increase in sort of the cost that the state would have to incur if we have these vehicles towed. Estimated at around $32,000, depending on how many vehicles we get towed and such.
Remembering the discussion the last time we raised it, we were having trouble getting tow trucks because we weren't paying the going rate. And yes, I'm hoping to have two. So I assume that's the same thing that's going on now. We're
Correct.
just keeping up with the market. And if we aren't, it's probably a longer distance up to get a former senator's car off the interstate when he couldn't get up his dirt road, so he parked it and crossed it. State police did come and call him.
Can I ask a question? In this, your thing says it would increase DMV expenses by roughly $32,000 a year. Do you mean revenue?
No. So this is the fee that a towing service could charge the department essentially.
Oh.
And then as Damien mentioned, DMV could be reimbursed through this fund. But this is what towing services can charge. Before they were limited to only being able to charge $125.
I see.
Now they can charge us $250, the state $250.
Okay, the state can pay a towing company. I'm gonna assume, and I stand to be corrected, if the car that's sitting there with the white handkerchief on the doorknob, when we find the owner, we will charge the owner for having that car removed.
That's a question I'm not sure how that happens in practice.
So this is reference the abandoned vehicles. So when they go through the process of filling out, and filing for an abandoned vehicle, title, from the tow company. There's a checkbox where they can be reimbursed for towing. Of that abandoned vehicle, and that's what this would, this is. Outside of normal towing, if you will, I don't say normal,
Okay,
but
so normally if I break down and
Yeah.
you have to tow me out, I'm gonna pay the tow car
Correct.
one way to the other. Okay,
That makes more sense.
yeah, all right. It's this little red car that's been sitting at the front of their feet for about 5 months. I don't know who's gonna take care of that. But it's buried in snow right now. Just driven into the grass.
Section 19 is another civil penalty. Just put it here that it was mentioned. This is for the unregistered snowmobile penalties. Section 21 is that non-domiciled commercial driver's license. The thing you mentioned, it's $40 yearly fee. In 2025, there were 16 non-domiciled CDLs issued. So this is again a de minimis impact. Not a lot of revenue to be generated there. And then 28, the limited use specialty vehicles. And as was mentioned, there's 12 maximum a year. So 12 times the $26 annual registration fee is again very small de minimis impact.
So nothing is to minimis in the end in that transportation fund.
We'll take all we can get.
We gotta find some big names. Okay, that's it.
Those are the sections, yeah.
Nothing of any real,
No, so in the proposal that Senate Transportation is doing for their substitute amendment. Again, if you look at the sort of official fiscal note, it will have that purchase and use section in there, which is more substantial. But we didn't get into that in here, and intent of the Transportation Committee, as you heard, to sort of amend their report to remove all of that.
Oh, it's all just being taken.
The whole section going to be taken out, and it can be taken up at a later date.
We're running 5 minutes ahead of the next day, and I think you want to go these two out, it's too soon for a
I've
motion.
got them on the agenda for after this. And I'm just gonna stick to the, in case somebody wants to first in here and yell, you can't charge me for getting stuck in smuggler's march.
They're trying to do that, but they're stuck.
Yeah, the road may, now the road is still closed with seas. I don't think it's plowed. So it would be a real challenge today. All right.
Sort of clarify again, it's talking about blowing up the rocks, not trees.
Now, cows are feeling. Okay, questions for Logan. Are we comfortable with this one? Everyone can be meditating on who's going to report these bills. Because I don't trust the no, it was.
I like that. It's trying to learn more about state government.
I think they're not.
Next one, just the hallway. Okay.
Is
that-
Been on right along.
That's.
Because it might get you out of here as soon as
You
possible.
can get on that for resources and maybe go out if the voters let me. So
Matt, did you want to say anything? For the nine.
Just hanging out with us.
You're just hanging out. You can hang out, cookie. Oh.
Pretty much.
Can I get my computer?
You're out of here, huh?
Yeah, all right.
All right.
See you later.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Better go right in. Thank you. Okay, committee, we're gonna go on. We're about 3 minutes ahead of schedule, but I think we can deal with that. We'll probably pack it up. This is X204, that's an act relating to electric ratepayer assistance and utility disconnections. We did hear from PUC who said they'd already done the study and it was on our reports page that we did find it. Basically, they have concluded that we really don't have a problem with people not being able to pay. You know, we don't have a large number of defaults on electric. That you get notice, the utilities will generally work out a payment plan. I think it's 3 notices. There is, electricity can't be turned off if you have any kind of a medical device that you're dependent upon, which leaves out a lot of people. It can't be turned off during severe cold weather. The one addition we had thought to make was even we were told that the utilities do not turn off your electricity when it's 98 degrees out because they do understand that that could be physically dangerous for people that are depending on air conditioning. But we had discussed perhaps putting that in. Other than that, I learned this morning that the House has a similar bill that's headed our way They did basically put in the rules that you can't turn it off during extreme heat and they wanted to track how many disconnects there were a year. Just so we knew if we started to see an uptick. So that one is coming. I'm assuming they're gonna meet somewhere in the hall and we'll hammer out the differences. Or we can wait for theirs to show up. But that's where we are. We did not hear from the utilities. So today we're gonna hear from the utilities who are on the receiving end. This. Let's start with Andrea. I didn't see you in a while. Nice to see you. Some years you're a regular in here.
I know we haven't seen each other a lot.
No, we haven't messed with utilities for a while. I'm sure you're hoping.
Sorry to be back. I am in the Zoom and I can share a screen if that's okay, some slides.
Okay.
That makes sense. Good afternoon, for the record, Andrea Cohen with Vermont Electric Cooperative. Yes, we are here today on S204. And I can share some slides if that's okay. Let's see if that works.
Is that my position?
I was hoping to just give you a little background on this whole disconnect process.
Yeah.
And how we go about that, probably similar to most.
Maybe. I guess. I'm looking, but I think my two newer members who may not even know who you are.
Oh.
You might just tell us a little bit about
Vermont Electric, I didn't come prepared with my background, but,
well, no, just about your organization.
yeah, sure.
Okay, now.
Yeah.
Now you want to.
No, that's not what I wanted
Yeah.
to thank you. Let's see. Again. Let's stop there. Thank you. You're welcome. Let's see. Share screen. Share window. Oh, that's better. Okay. For the record, Andrea Cohen from Vermont Electric Cooperative. For those of you who do not know Vermont Electric Cooperative, we're the second largest utility in the state of Vermont. We cover 78 towns in the northern part of the state, over in the islands, all the way across. You are familiar with, I think everybody's pretty familiar with us. So I'll just jump in and share a little bit. Let me start the slideshow. So we're talking about utility disconnections. I'll start by saying VEC, as well as you'll find all the utilities, do not like to disconnect power. These are our community members, our neighbors, our family members. You know, we're in these communities. Disconnecting power is the last thing we ever want to do. Unlike some other commodities or essential services, interestingly, you're paying your electric bill often monthly. You know, it's gone by, it's 30 days, then you have another 30 days, then you have to, you know, it's by the time you're kind of getting into trouble with us, frankly, you've got other problems in your life. It's not only your electric bill that's causing stress. I think one of my takeaways I want to share we don't have a lot of time today, but this affordability challenge is real and it's hard and it's getting worse for folks. And frankly, more regulations we're not going to regulate ourselves out of this. This is actually maybe the opposite, but you know, sometimes the more regulations actually add costs or cost shift to other folks. So we really see this as a partnership with you. Like, we're going to be really honest and straightforward about what adds cost pressures, what doesn't. We're always going to come in and share that with you, but we share the goal of reducing this problem, the affordability issue. In VEC territory has 7 of the top 11 towns with the largest energy burden. This is that Efficiency Vermont report you've seen. We have some of the lower income folks in the state in our service territory, and we also have a really old demographic. This is from our annual member survey. 57% of our members are over 65 years of age. That is a lot of fixed income folks. we are laser focused on affordability, and we do not want to disconnect the power for these folks, and we bend over backwards. We do whatever we can to help them get assistance and supports and programs and whatnot. So this is something we're always looking at. On the member survey, every year we do a member survey. The cost of energy is the most important thing that our members report. They say this, if you do nothing but please focus on that. You can see relatively forced prioritization compared to renewability and carbon free and all the good stuff we're trying to do and we're committed to do. We always cannot lose sight of the low cost energy being important. To your earlier comment, Senator, we disconnect about 100 people a month in our service territory. We're back to pre-COVID. There was a moratorium. I don't know if it's all come in and talk to you about that. We're kind of back to where we were before. Things are back to kind of normal. Just because these folks are disconnected doesn't mean they don't get reconnected quickly, and often do. I have another
So
slide.
that's just disconnected, doesn't show us who gets reconnected.
Right. And there's a lot of churn, folks that are, again, having disconnection challenges. They've got other challenges. Sometimes this is the, kind of part of this household situation is not sustainable. Let's figure something else out. Again, if they're not able to pay their bill, they've got some other challenges too. So we don't have to go through all this given the time and the number of witnesses, but the point of we track this really closely, and the process is highly regulated. We do not just go turn folks power off. They get notices, they get more notices, they get reminders, they have opportunities for payment arrangements and long-term payment plans, and all that is it's very, very regulated. And then we go beyond that. We have member service reps that know these people well, and Joe will call and they know Joe's wife just got out of the hospital and they will make additional arrangements, so this is a daily part of our work that we do. We manage 850 payment arrangements a month. 90% of those are successful. So Joe says, I'm going to get a check on Friday. I can give you another $50. That's noted in the account. If Friday comes and goes, we'll call Joe on Monday. But 90% of those are successful, meaning they don't end up with a disconnection. 90% of the disconnections often are in fact reconnected within one day. That says to us, somebody figured out a way, either got some supports or whatever, and was able to get their power right back on. So
What does it cost you a month to mail these notices?
the notices actually, here's part of the cycle that's just terrible because we don't want to cost ship that. So what we do is, if you're behind and you get a disconnect notice, you're actually paying the cost of that notice. So now you're behind and now you have additional fees, right? Because, and if we have to roll a truck to go out, you have to incur that cost. Like it's really, you want to really avoid, the best thing is paying your bill so you're not getting additional fees, things like that.
Or at least if it's day 25, you haven't sent the notice out. If somebody reaches out to you and goes, hey, I can give you $50 this week, $50 next week, whatever it is, you're not going to send that disconnection notice.
We work with them to avoid additional things.
And then anyone on medical equipment.
So the medical is a whole nother thing, and I'll get to that. So why do we work these things so hard? We're calling people every day saying, Joe, you've been through a payment arrangement, you didn't pay what? Because if you don't pay, your neighbor's paying more, right? We're kind of a closed system, and often your neighbor can't afford to pay anymore either, but they're prioritizing things differently or whatever. So our goal is to keep the arrearages down and the write-offs down, because if not, somebody else is going to have to pay more. So we feel like we're doing our members a service by making sure people are paying their bills. Just a point of reference, just as a reminder, we often like to say we're not really the problem, even though we're regulated. So we get pulled in a lot for more regulation. But if you look at the annual energy cost examples, green is the electric, the heating costs and the transportation costs are more. So when we talk about energy burden, electricity matters, of course, but you know, it's putting gas in the car, heating the home if you're not using electricity, that all.
That graph was done before this week.
I did not do this graph. This is the Energy Action Network.
Okay, I'm just thinking gas prices, just.
Oh, can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Definitely gone up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you said this earlier and it came in a bit late. I'm under the impression that Vermont Gas and otherwise, they don't shut off in the winter times. They won't shut off gas service. I think that might be true or not, but in the winter time, will you sometimes terminate service even if they electricity, because that used for heat sometimes?
It is highly regulated. There's a whole bunch of rules all about disconnects in the winter. So we cannot disconnect on real cold days, and there's a whole other process for that. If it's a warm, just because it's winter, but it's daylight today, we may be able to disconnection. But it has a lot to do with the temperature. So speaking of high, you know,
We had another question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I have to leave at 3:30, so I just wanted to get this in before, I'm sorry to interrupt.
no, it's fine.
So overall, the bottom line is, are you supportive of the bill as it is right now, or do you have concerns about it?
The bill that you have
The
is
short
managed.
Yeah,
I mean, we prefer no additional regulation because we never know what happens when they go into rulemaking and all of a sudden things get, you know, wacky. But what we're doing now for a process for high heat, I think if they actually, that is what was enrolled. You'll hear that a lot of utilities are already not disconnecting high heat. And we have our own procedures.
basically codifying what they already do.
That is so much better than
That
what
was our
the
understanding.
other options
Yeah.
might be that are coming to you.
Oh, they are.
So
Okay.
thank you
I
for
think
that.
some of that may be, there's been national coverage about huge increases.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if anyone's tracking, are those the
Yeah.
unregulated
Right.
electric markets?
Well, I'll explain what we're doing and then I have another slide just as a quick reference to other states. I mean, it's Vermont. It is not Arizona. We have a few times over the summer recently that we've had advisories. And what's happened over the past few years, DPS was proactive and they say, wow, it's gonna be really hot. Maybe you guys shouldn't disconnect. And we're like, you're right, that's okay, we won't disconnect today. Then we decided we shouldn't wait for the call from DPS. Let's be proactive. Excuse me. So we've decided at VEC that if there's a summer heat advisory from the National Weather Service, and those are regional, they're not like all of Vermont. They might say Memorial County, Wyndham, you know. If there's a heat advisory in our service territory, we will not disconnect on those days. So we're proactively doing that. That's our procedure. It's working fine. If that's the kind of thing that you're anticipating and not way more complicated than that, it would be great if that was known because
What we're anticipating.
compared to other states, I just Googled this the other night. So just, you know, again, let's remember it's Vermont. I just chose Orleans County, which is in our service territory. We have 1 or 2 heat advisories a year. You know, there's that many super hot days that it might be dangerous. Phoenix, Arizona has dozens here. You know, we are not Phoenix, Arizona.
They don't have any cold advisory.
That's right. And we're not Georgia and we're not DC, you know, so
Ours is
let's
the cold.
remember where we are and, you know, how much of a problem it might be or not, but.
The advent of air conditioners in
Right,
Vermont is relatively new.
right. So last slide is just, yes, affordability is a real and increasing concern, but, you know, regulations are not gonna help us help people pay their bill. And I feel like we're meeting any current concerns about high heat disconnects. If you were to want to do new regulations, just please make them not complicated or cumbersome or causing everybody to spend more time than we need to, than what we're doing already is a voluntary process. And if you need more information about any of this, we're very happy. We all track this really closely. We're regulated. We do monthly reports on all this, and we can always share more in a way that is helpful to you. So. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Committee discussion, questions? Then,
I think we have other speakers, but I'm looking at the amendment and I'm just wondering for air conditioning or does gas used for producing air cooling? Like we're having gas included in this. I'm just.
okay, no, I have
Okay.
request that we remove gas because gas
That makes sense.
is not used for cooling. It is used for heating. But today, now maybe someday we'll have a hydrogen cooler, but at this point, I don't think so. I think that's just somebody took the language and moved it. Right, so that will be a simple Scrivener's amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Ken Nolan is, I hope, still on Zoom. There he is. Welcome, Ken, and just introduce yourself for the record, and the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Ken Nolan, I'm the General Manager here at Vermont Public Power Supply Authority. For the committee members who may not know, VEPSA, or Vermont Public Power, is a state-created entity who works with the 14 smallest utilities in the state. At this point, we have 11 municipal utilities that are full members. We provide full service to, and then Burlington Electric, Stowe Electric, and Hyde Park are strategic members. So we provide very targeted services to them as well. My testimony today is going to be relatively short. I agree with most of what Andrea just said. Since the question was asked directly, I'll start by answering it directly. I think we're in the same position. We'd prefer no new legislation on this front. Anytime a rulemaking starts in front of the Public Utility Commission, you don't know where it's going. It can get very complicated very quickly, which in our view has counterproductive actions to it. Having said that, when we look at H753 coming over versus S204, we much prefer S204. We understand your focus on the extreme heat situations, understand the concern there. We think that's, to the extent there's legislation needed, that's a good place to have a conversation. We're much more concerned when you get into discussions about the doctor's notes and how those are implemented in particular. As a general matter, I talk about the same types of issues every time I'm talking about an energy bill. We're very concerned about cost shifting. And when you have customers who don't get disconnected and run up high, what sometimes can be very high bills, that increased costs, both in borrowing costs for the utility to operate without the revenue coming in, and to the extent those expenses get written off eventually, that's a cost shift to other customers. More directly, we see many cases where the inability to disconnect or force a conversation with a customer about how to create a payment plan or reduce their usage or things of that nature actually can become a financial burden on them. We had our board meeting today and talked about this bill, and one example, extreme example for sure, but one example that came up was a utility that has a customer it's a residential home, but they're running a business out of their home. Under the PUC rules, that customer is considered residential as far as the disconnect rules go, but they owe the utility $20,000. And they've been getting a doctor's note for month after month, gone through the winter and can't be disconnected. So they're now coming into the spring with a $20,000 bill that they're trying to figure out how to deal with. So we'd be very concerned about the more proscriptive no disconnect periods you add into the process here, the more you tend to cause customers to ultimately have financial difficulty without the utility being able to work with them and address it. We're also concerned with complexity. I think Andrea mentioned that as well. The winter rules are extremely complex. They take a lot of administrative overhead to operate and make sure that you comply with them. We much prefer to be in a position where we can work with the customer, try to find a way for them to pay their bill and move forward. And the more proscriptive it is, and the more complex it is, the harder that is to do. We do, I polled the municipal utilities, and as a group, they follow a similar practice to VEC, where they don't disconnect if there's an alert from the DPS or the National Weather Service for high heat. So that's voluntarily, that's happening in the background now, but it's happening in a way where the utilities can operate it effectively with their administrative overhead and are better positioned to work with the customer. So I guess in closing, I just say, we're okay with this bill. We prefer this over 753 on the House side. But we'd want to make sure that if you're going to move forward with codifying this, that we do it in a way that doesn't add complexity and put customers in a more difficult spot because they're accruing larger bills. I'll stop there and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, committee? Okay, so basically we're hearing, I think from both of you, that if we have to do something, this is probably the best something you've seen out there, but you prefer, since you're already doing this, that we do nothing.
That is correct. That is our position.
Okay. All right, any questions, Mr. Nolan? Okay, thank you. Louis Porter's already on the way up,
Thank you.
a seasoned veteran.
Yeah, that's a kind way to put it. Thank you. Louis Porter, Washington Electric Co-op. I'm not going to go through my testimony that I sent you all. You can read it if you're having trouble falling asleep tonight. But Washington Electric Co-op's a small rural electrical cooperative similar to Vermont Electric Co-op.
Around here, you're not small.
Fair. We cover the rural parts of 41 towns. So by territory, we're not all that small, but 12,000 members. Similar to Andrea and Ken, we don't think the bill's necessary. We follow similar practices to the two of them in high heat situations. Certainly, if the DPS reaches out, we will not disconnect if they ask us not to. In addition, if we know that there's a heat warning out there, we will voluntarily choose not to disconnect. My concern is that anytime something goes into a rulemaking process and is formalized with the force of the statute and rule, it gets complicated and bureaucratic, and that's appropriate because you're using the power of the state behind it. It's appropriate that be spelled out and difficult and complicated. It's okay. But I think this is a case where you're adding complexity and difficulty unnecessarily by making this go through a formal rulemaking process. And anytime disconnects become more difficult, more cumbersome, there'll be fewer of them. They'll be longer before we get to that point. And the amount of bad debt, the amount of bad bills will increase, which, as Ken pointed out, is bad for the individual member. Also bad for the rest of the membership because the costs that those bills represent get paid by somebody, and the somebody is the rest of the people in that utility who do not have that bad bill. So I'll stop there. Happy to answer any questions. I would urge you to not do anything on either of the bills. As Ken and Andrea said, I prefer your version to the House version. Thanks.
Okay. And I'm not sure which House bills are coming. I had visit this morning very quickly with the chair of the House, who said they had a bill almost exactly like this, except they were going to be asking the PUC to keep account. So we were suddenly, we started to see significantly more shut-offs than disconnects than we've been seeing. And I suppose we could request that they do that without putting it into law.
We report now to the department on our disconnects.
Yeah, Andrea has,
so
they must have.
It's no problem. I included in my testimony that it give the history of our disconnect numbers, and you'll see we're not out of the realm. In fact, we're disconnecting fewer now than we did pre-COVID. there was that COVID period where there was a moratorium on disconnects. And we saw disconnects obviously went to zero. Arrearage is nearly doubled for Washington Electric Co-op.
Yeah. I mean, and the smaller utilities have a smaller base. You also tend to have higher costs because you're smaller. Okay, so that would put more of a direct impact, you don't have a cushion.
Exactly right.
Okay, committee. Questions? No, okay,
All right.
Candace. You got a new tune. These guys are all singing in a choir, so. Mess it all up, no, I'm just saying. It wasn't pollution in the hall, was it?
No, not at all. I never did. Candace Morgan from Green Mountain Power. Thank you for the time today. We echo a lot of what you heard from the other utilities in terms of this being a pretty, I think, straightforward bill should you choose to act on anything. We also obviously follow any guidance from the Department of Public Service when they ask us to pause on disconnections during a high heat advisory. I think your language was, I can't remember if the version I saw had a date by which the PUC needed to update the rule, or if it was just the next time. The rule 3.300 was updated not that long ago to implement some other legislative changes. And so, yeah, the points that others have raised, it is always, as this committee knows, and the chair and everyone else, rulemaking is always an interesting exercise, right? And so unpredictable. We don't want to, kind of create new paths for more complicated things, but we would be supportive of the bill should you all choose to move it as well. I think it does represent a pretty straightforward consideration for just creating that point in which we would not be able to disconnect. I think what's important to remember and remind you all of is that in the winter, in addition to there being a threshold at which no disconnect can happen because it's just too cold, there's a lot of additional work that has to happen in notification with the customer and other things. And this would not be setting up a similar process. That the hope would be that it would just have that higher heat threshold. And so we would want to just keep it in that lane versus creating more hurdles to jump through. But while I was here, I just also wanted to share with the committee, we're also seeing, similar to what Lewis reported, overall lower numbers of disconnects than we did right before the pandemic as well. And I think that shows a lot of really, it's the result of a lot of constant work of our customer care team with our customers, payment arrangements, other work that we're doing every day to try to avoid that final step. And keeping people current really does help them long term. Things are not getting sent to collections, and also the rest of our customers aren't covering those costs, right? So we don't want to create any unnecessary rate pressure that we don't have to in that space. One other thing just to mention to the committee also, we have an energy assistance program at GMP, which is paid for by all of our customers. It's a fee, a line item on your GMP bill. And that helps provide a 25% discount for eligible customers. And also we just recently went to the Public Utility Commission and got approval to allow for up to 2 arrearage forgivenesses for customers who are enrolled in that program. It used to be that you could have an arrearage forgiveness at the time of enrollment, but we were noticing that not everyone was coming in with an arrearage, but we wanted to have the flexibility to work with them if they had one during the time that they were on that program. It's really helped us get some more customers caught up by being able to implement that additional arrearage forgiveness as well. I think that those are the main points that I wanted to hit, but I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee might have.
Questions committee. All right. So you do have resistance trouble. We do this. And I assume that with everyone else, that if you didn't, it would be a charge. That's how you make your money, is a charge on, is raising everyone else's rates. So there's a surcharge on there.
There's a surcharge, and it's paid for by all customers, including customers in the program, right? And so it is a
rate increase.
Exactly, right, and you know, I think we have found the balance at GMP in terms of what that cost is to all customers and being able to provide that support. It's 185% of the federal poverty level or under that someone can be eligible for the program, so it's not a the income threshold is, I think there's about 10 or just about 11,000 of our customers who are enrolled on it right now. Yep.
That's a significant number. All right. Any questions, committee? Okay. Committee, we have 3 votes scheduled next. Would you, I'm very hesitant to say, would you like to take a break? Or would you like to move forward?
I just wanna.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with the DMP and the other one. As for this one, I don't see the language with the revision to take gas out of there. So you just,
We haven't taken gas out of there. That, somebody got me in the hall today. I think we could treat that as a Scrivener's error. Just, it's walking into a Scrivener's error. We've been asked to remove gas from the heat
I don't know much about this.
because you don't do air,
That was, oh.
don't do air conditioning with natural gas. So anyway, this is the net first one on there. I think what we've heard is if we really feel we have to do something, this is probably the least evil thing we could do. But they're already doing it and they would prefer we do nothing. I don't think we need to put it in law to ask the PUC to come in and report to us in person, not a report on disconnect trends. So we are tracking that. I don't know that we need to put it in. And this is Maria Royal. She's the drafter on this one. Is she available?
No, she's all booked up.
She's all booked up. So I guess if we do this, nothing much is going to change.
Yeah, sounds like the utilities themselves kind of already have a plan in place and.
Okay, I've got at least 2. Don't think we have.
So my only question is, have we heard anything from quote the other side? Have we heard any complaints? Have we heard any complaints that the process is working well? I haven't heard any. I don't know.
I haven't, and I
Maybe you have, I
believe I told you I talked to the sponsor and the constituent that asked for this. Actually have been paying utilities through her rent, and her landlord didn't pay the bill, and she lost, the big loss was the food in her refrigerator.
Have we heard anything from PSB in terms of things that
They were
related to that?
they said they already did the report and they didn't think it was necessary to do anything else.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, did the public service department, do they keep
Not
track of, because they're supposed to be the consumer
Yes, and they,
advocates, right?
somebody said they have to report their disconnects either to public service. Yeah.
So did they tell us? I don't remember their testimony on this bill.
We did not get them in. We had the PUC.
Maybe we should have the public service department in and ask them,
We've
but,
got till tomorrow.
yeah, it's true.
We can do it. We do have another bill coming from the House if we change our mind. We don't have to do anything. There is a vehicle coming.
That's what I was gonna say. So just
If there, if there's a vehicle coming, then we could wait.
We could wait and strip whatever people don't like out of that. I think there may be several because the one I was told about this morning just put in the summer disconnect during heat and asked PUC, I think maybe it was the Public Service Department, to keep track of disconnects. And so when that was Representative James, but it was one of those, I've got you for a minute to let you know what's coming. So, okay, I'm not seeing any great angst to pass this one. Okay. So y'all can wait until the next one comes. And we'll see if we have developed any more angst since then. I know nationally there is an issue. There's a huge issue with electric rates. Ours are going up. But probably not as fast as some others because we are still a regulated utility. And we seem to be doing a lot of dependence on hydro and solar. I know the grid has a lot of natural gas, and I'm just assuming that natural gas is going to do some of the same things that fuel oil and gasoline are doing. But we'll see, that's beyond our control. Okay, so we're gonna do nothing with that for now. That gets us to 211, motor vehicle inspections, in which there are no fees, no revenues, everything has been stripped out. There's a study.
Motion.
Jeez, what did we do?
Stop talking about everything.
It's such exit. It must be ice cream. Okay, yeah. 211.
This has no fee, no red, no.
Why did we have to do
Because the original bill,
The original bill had,
Word fee and revenue in that.
it had an impact because it was going to 2-year inspections and that would have had a revenue impact. But they took that out because all the numbers they got were correct. And so this one is a study and we just did a whole setup due to start, I believe, next year for mileage that you were going to get your odometer read when you went in for your annual inspection. And if we do away with the annual inspection, what do we do with that?
Right.
So would someone like a motion?
I move that we pass S211 draft 3.1 or approve or concur or whatever. Committee on Transportation's S211 draft 3.1.
As sent to us by transportation. Okay, Senator Hardy has moved that we report S211 draft 3.1 favorably as sent to us, since there are no fees in it. There any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Okay, that one carries. Who would like to report that one?
Sure. Do you want it?
We'll do that.
I'll just say there's no
That's
fee.
a hard one.
I love it.
Give you the next one.
And just for the record, Martine did vote.
Oh, Martine.
Oh, she did vote.
Martine is up there?
I did. I said aye.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't even hear you.
okay, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that.
Now we're good. 700.
Okay. So
So you want me to do it?
sure.
No.
We then have S326, which does have fees.
So on this, logistically, I just
Yeah.
want to be prepared that we were walked through a strike all amendment from the committee members. The
Yeah.
bill we had, we didn't walk through, so we
Right.
can vote on that bill. I don't know what the differences are, but
I
that's,
think, I don't know how they did it.
yeah.
They are going to stand up and ask to do a substitute amendment on the floor. I think we just stand up and say, we were informed they were going to do that. We looked at the substitute amendment. The amendment really doesn't change. It strikes out the whole purchase and use section, but the fees that are here are the fees that are in the original bill, so
So we're clear, we're voting on the bill.
we're
Yeah.
voting on the fees that remain in the bill. Not anything to do with purchase and use.
Are they? They haven't voted it out of committee yet, though?
They voted a bill out, and what Senator Westman told me is that DMV gave them all kinds of wrong numbers. There's a new administration over there. And when they found that out after they had voted the bill out, and so they immediately did a substitute amendment, struck out. I'm not sure what they're doing with purchase and use, but I told him he couldn't have our money in the ed fund.
Thank
It
you.
was gross vehicle weight rating,
But that's gone. That whole section got struck because the numbers they were going on weren't correct. The rest of the bill, and there's a few fees in there,
It's the license one.
the license,
Snowmobile one.
the,
Smuggler
if
garage.
you're locked up for 6 months, you can get a free. This, you may have been gone.
No, I remember, I was here for that part.
Yeah.
But I just wondered the status of it. They just they're doing a substitute amendment.
They do it
Okay.
substitute.
So us voting on it, are we voting on the substitute? amendment?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
But the fees are the same.
Yes.
But look, according to the Bloomer sitting right here, I don't think we're voting on the substitute amendment with this action. because
Okay.
We have the committee bill, the bill that came. from the
Well,
committee.
okay, we are
Does that
voting
make sense?
on we will stand up and say the fees are the same.
Because we have the actual bill, not the
Yes.
substitute.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I put
They're
Steve
gonna
in
do
the
a
substitute bill?
sub amendment on.
That's the one we went over.
Substitute bill is,
That is the substitute. I wanna make sure. Yeah.
we went over the substitute bill,
But we're voting on the bill that came out of their committee.
right, but they, other than striking that section on whatever they were doing with purchase and use, which probably would have gotten our attention. And it had to do with truck trailers and,
It was the weight of vehicles, because if
Yeah.
you go over a certain weight, you're capped at your purchasing use tax.
so that one might have gotten our attention a little more, but we're voting on what remains. So,
So this motion is for the bill in committee.
The bill they passed out.
yeah, the fees as the bill, which is,
I move that we approve. Last, what is it,
326
326?
fee section.
That's came to out.
Oh, yeah, we could do it, with, without that section. What section is it? I move 326,
Well, I don't,
um,
Damien gave us the strike all.
We could move the bill without a favorable or unfavorable and then say we voted on the amendment, the floor amendment to just really confuse things.
Well, if they do a strike all amendment, that's gonna go first.
So that-
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're gonna get up to do the
Okay.
bill, they're gonna move to substitute with the new bill, which takes out
yeah,
that first section.
No, then they would bring up the issue of finances,
Yes,
approval of what's left.
and we will say, we had in our possession the original bill, but but what we actually looked at was the
The substitute
substitute.
amendment.
The fees are the same.
Does anybody know what the differences are? Like, is it just one section that's?
it's
That's
just one section. I'm trying to figure out what the section is, and then we can vote on it without that section. I will move it without that section.
it's got purchase and use.
Why did they do a strike all? It was just one section for their. Whatever.
It's strike all, everybody is strike all
Section
for
18.
everything now.
Yeah,
Remember we used to do like
Section
sections, just on sections of the bill?
18.
I looked at
Okay.
the original.
Perfect
I
idea.
miss getting a
Okay.
house once to do the Zorro side through the pages.
I move that we approve S326 as recommended by this Committee on Transportation, except for section 18.
Okay. I think that'll do it.
Yeah,
That's what
that,
John Bloomer says.
If John Bloomer says no, we'll go meet in the corner and do what John Bloomer tells us to do. All right. Then he's probably listening and we'll be through that door in
he's
about
he's
30
laughing at us.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, we know what we're voting on. We are voting to approve the fees that are the regular increase, the towing fee, so we can actually get a tow truck to come. The non-resident trucker fee, the extending the free driver's license learning permit or ID to people who have been detained. They already have done for people who are incarcerated, but you can be detained up to 6 months before going to trial and then either acquitted or found guilty and sentenced to time served.
And then get your
And then
license
you
back.
get your,
And you get your license back. The one thing that was on my mind, I probably should have asked, we didn't want to complicate things further, but you have a lot of people who are convicted of a crime, and part of the conviction is you can't drive.
right,
And so when is that person's license, if that person has that kind of restriction, are we paying the fee for them to get a license they can't get now? Or are we waiting for the court process to in fact end at the point at which they're eligible, which could be 2 years later or whatever, and do we pay it then?
well, right now, I remember in the testimony, if you're incarcerated, the day you leave, you get what you're entitled to get. If you are part of your probation is you can't drive 2 years,
Yeah.
then you're gonna get a real ID, which is the non-driver's license. And
I think that should be referred to as an unreal ID.
yeah. This is a federal term.
Fake ID?
Yeah, this is a fake real ID. Anyway, if your driver's license hasn't expired,
Mhm.
then you're not getting a new one. You know, if you're if you've got a 2-year license, or you pay, I think you get a 5-year license now, at least 2. And you got it, and you were in jail for 6 months, and you've still got 6 months to go on your license. It's only if you couldn't renew it because you were locked up.
I just wonder, I'm sure there's gotta be an administrative process in here somewhere.
Yeah.
And the fact that there was no mention whatsoever of what happens if you can't get a driver's license because, for a period of time, now you may get it 2 months from now. Does the reimbursement kick in then, or does the reimbursement just end on the date you're released and you either are or not? And it's still very unclear to me.
Yeah, you will get, they said, if you're incarcerated, the day you leave, you get what you are due.
Mhm.
So we're not gonna send you out without any ID. That's can't cash a check, can't do anything without a government form of ID anymore. So you'll get a real ID, which pretty much might let you cash a check if you have a bank account. And it will get you on an airplane, won't get you over the border. If your driver's license has expired, you get a driver's license. I think we're gonna have to trust the Department of Corrections. It's not giving you a driver's license if your probation says you can't drive. You're getting a real ID. But if your license expired and you can drive and you were a truck driver before we locked you up, you'll probably get your license. Because you couldn't. It's what the bill does is it expands the present system to people who are detained that we already do for people who are incarcerated. And you can be detained for quite a while. Okay. We got a motion, right?
Yep, I moved it a little while ago.
Senator Hardy moved that we approve it minus section 18 because it's our understanding that has been removed and that the fees in both bills are the same.
Just to belabor the point.
Please, yeah, please, go for it.
We could have just had the finance committee amendment to address that whatever they're bringing forward as a floor amendment, but
Yeah, we could have taken it
Yeah.
out.
We could have taken it out, but I think they were so. Sounded like this happened 5 minutes.
That would've been
after they
simple.
voted it out.
Thank you for that.
Or they don't use this. Sanity does not rule at the end of a deadline.
For sure.
Still have a motion on the table.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Senator Chitna?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. All good. All good.
No further amendments. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I,
I was saying
We
no.
heard you.
We heard you. I'm calling that 7-0. Senator Chittenden or Beck, who would like to report that?
Happy to, but if you want,
I
sir,
think it's yours.
So, yeah, you can belabor.
I'll belabor it.
Talk about it for a long
I'm
time.
gander.
That finishes our agenda for today.
Would you like to go offline?
No, I wanted to talk about. I don't have yesterday's here.
Now, since I'm belabored,
Um,
yeah, one more thing on this, Madam Chair.
yeah,
Should we take a straw poll on their floor amendments as well? Is that necessary?
no,
Okay.
we voted for the fees. That's our only
We
thing.
basically did.
They don't change fees on the floor.
Oh,
Yesterday, I've got a couple. What were we discussing yesterday?
312, which was the machinery and equipment investment tax credit.
Yes.
161.
We are still. We're getting, we haven't been able to get the tax department for tomorrow.
We can't get Pepsi either.
And we can't get Pepsi
By the end of the week.
by the end of the week. So that's sitting there. The other one we've got 282, which is that taxes on higher income earners for the school construction fund. I'm gonna have Patrick come in, and it seems like it gets more and more complicated. And after the childcare bill yesterday, I'm wondering if the votes are even here to go forward with that one. We'll hear from Patrick, but just,
I have an amendment that I at least want to have some time to
okay.
talk about. And I think you also do.
if this bill
I
goes
heard
forward,
that some members of my committee had talked to Patrick. That's all I heard.
Yeah.
but-
Well, I mentioned it to you that I had talked.
And that it might get interesting.
so all I want to say is, I don't support the bill as is, and so I saw it was on the agenda, as I
Yeah.
told you, that I wanted to draft some contours of something I could support, and so that's what I do have. If we want to discuss it, I'm happy to bring it forward.
Yeah, and I have something too that just for discussion purposes, and, I mean, I think it would be, I would love to see something go forward, but you know that it's.
They're working on it, and this end of the table, is there anything that's gonna make this palatable? No.
Bill, are you guys talking about? Sorry.
282?
280,
Tanya.
Well,
Oh, I'm in
back.
favor. Yeah, I'm in favor.
That. And so we've got 3 no's, 2 yeses, and at this point, maybe,
Well, let's look at
And-
some variation.
I'm gonna look
Okay.
at the variations and see what we come up with. I'm just trying to assign time. Sales and use tax exemption on the fuel used in a residence. Oh. Okay. I'm going to take that up. Because it came to us and we haven't done it. Which is basically, the proposal is to tax fuel oil. For essentially second homes or,
If you have the homestead, yes.
yeah. I don't, and I'm pretty sure what I'm going to hear from the tax department is until. The listers have finished their work, we don't even know. Who they are or where they are, and
Yeah, they
it
don't
will
know.
be very difficult. But we will see what they say.
This would be what, what sort of a tax? Is it just simply a sales tax or is it more than that?
An act relating to public libraries and the Department of Libraries, when did that one? Yesterday, maybe? Oh, yesterday, okay, so this is one that came. All right, that has to go to appropriations, all right. Okay, that's 312 again. We'll see if we can get that out. We're trying to get tax and Pepsi in here. We can't get them though. We can't get them though. All right, so committee, think about what you want to do with that one.
Does that have to go this week?
Yes, because it came here originally.
All right.
It didn't come to us from another committee,
So if anybody calls.
so it has to cross out this week.
What are the rules if it doesn't get out of this Senate, but we want to include it in a discussion that like on the miscellaneous tax bill?
Oh, you can,
Yeah, we could do that.
as long as it's germane. The nice thing about miscellaneous tax is it's germane to anything that has a tax or tax exemption, or it's pretty broad. Which is why it gets decorated a lot. And where things are going on, if we do any changing to tax codes, that's where I'd put it. If we can't reach agreement on 282, that's where it would go. We don't have 220 on here, so we need to put that on, because I'm understanding there is an agreement in the works.
Happy to say a few things on that. So working on an excess spending threshold alternative to the allowable spending growth cap, so a soft cap, and I've just been
This
playing
is
with
just
numbers.
passing it.
Well, in my version of 282 that you'll see tomorrow, there is something about the excess spending threshold. I combined them.
Okay.
Is it in the introduced or?
No, it's not. It's not in the introduced, but I was sort of looking at our conversation about 220 and the conversation about 282. And I tried to put them together. So you'll see, I mean, the draft isn't ready yet, so.
We're
yeah,
going
we're
to
still-
create an aardvark.
Oh, okay, this weird bill, okay, I got you. Figured that out.
Or very fine sausage. But that sometimes is where the best bills come from, so. Yeah, I think tomorrow we'll be busy. Next, we're actually doing pretty well getting through the bills. Most of these have come to us. We've got 282 and 220. Yeah, that were ours that we've been working on that we need to get out of here. We have several that have come to us from other committees we'll need to get out. And there will be an onslaught on Friday and Monday of bills being sent over here.
I'm fine talking about 282 next week.
Pardon?
We can talk 282 next week if you'd
You
like.
would miss the deadline.
We missed the deadline.
Ah,
We can't
yes.
do it.
Yes.
I'm gonna give it one last shot. I've gotta see what it looks like. I'm not sure. But I'd like to get some school construction money. Because we're not gonna go anywhere with consolidation without some construction help.
You know, what I had about school construction, it's kind of outside the conversation here, but. Don't we have? Towns keep adding and adding and adding. Isn't the 1% local option tax, doesn't the state's portion greatly exceed on an annual basis the pilot payment?
Greatly.
We reduced it last year, the percentage that goes to
We
the
did.
state, so
Yeah.
I don't think it does anymore.
No, we
Towns keep
took
adding.
it, yes. Well, we got a whole lot of new towns this
Yeah.
year.
Right.
If how much they'll put in.
Yeah.
I know that there's a discussion, in there. Was John laughing at us?
Were you playing with the notion of this access?
How we should vote on the transportation bill that our jurisdiction is.
The growing number.
We have the bill, but we know there's a strike all the time. Right, out. So we voted on the bill minus section 18, which is what we understand what it bill is. Big John. Because we didn't look at that one day, right?
But, well, that's true. But
We
they,
voted on these.
Just a second.
just what they know on a common basis what their sales tax.
But are you all right?
They can reject.
We're still live, but we can go offline.
Would you like to go offline? No, I don't care. I just need to know. So technically it's
We voted on.
favorable.
Yeah, that's what we did.
The motion had it excluding section 18, but we didn't amend it to remove 18. We just voted favorably all but